welcome to YouTube's live coverage of the 2013 Golden Gate Lotus Club Autocross Series. I'm John Soares, and thank you for joining us for this, our first ever live coverage of the exciting world of autocross. I'm here in the studio in Georgia, but at the track we have our correspondent Ben Beams, who's apparently draped himself in some sort of Lotus flag. Ben?
Well, it's a beautiful day here in Marina, bitter cold wind notwithstanding, and Lotuses are lined up as far as the eye can see. The course has been laid out and the first cars are preparing for their runs. We've got some heavy hitters today in the autocross world, as well as the possibility of some classic Lotus cars. Vintage racers, which I'm told occasionally are not on fire. So we're glad you could all join us here today in what may not be the highest echelon of motorsport, but is certainly the finest.
Well, that's certainly the consensus here, Ben. 8 minutes past the hour in Marina, and presumably 8 minutes past the hour everywhere in the world, and it looks like the first car is ready at the starting line. This is number 24, a Lotus Elise competing in the race tire class. This class allows slick tires and ought to produce the fastest times of the day among the modern Lotus machinery. And it's off. He's making his way around the first cones and up toward the second cones, and now turning around some cones and making his way through the cones. Here we have a long cone straightaway of some sort, and another turn around some cones, and he's heading up towards these cones, which I've heard are some difficult cones, and now he's making his way back and forth through these cones. I'm really starting to see an issue with the commentary here. Is anything we can do about that? Anyway, he's making his turn around some of the final cones, not quite the last cones, but getting close, and here we are making the final turn through the cones, and he's across the line with a time of 47.6 seconds. Since the course is different at every event, we'll have to wait and see how that time compares, and I'm going to see what I can do about calling this race. In the meantime, Ben, can you describe the feeling down there in the paddock?
It's kind of like that, but it doesn't.
Ben?
It doesn't hurt. It's like a burning sensation.
Can we get a hold of him?
Yeah, mostly.
Yeah, he's talking about his problem again. I don't know if he wants that to be heard on the air. It is being heard on the air. I don't think he can hear us, but our next contender, number 430 in the R tire class, is up, and it's a sea of cones ahead of him, much like it was for our last contender. This R tire class is for cars with competition tire compounds that are still DOT compliant. 430 is a relatively new competitor in this series. Let's see what he can do with this course. And he's off! And he's rounding the first cones, passing some more cones, and rounding the second cones, and coming up on the third cones, and he's making quick work of these first initial cones. Not an easy feat. Blasting towards the back of the track. Coming up on the third, fourth, passing a lot of cones here, and making another turn around some cones, and he's done it, and coming up on more cones, and he's through! Accelerating hard toward the slalom. He's heading back and forth through, you guessed it, cones! Another cone, and hunting for more. Cornering hard into the last set of turns, passing some cones, coming up on the final turn, and he's around the cones of the final turn, coming up on the finish line, and he's through the finish line with a time of 50.7 seconds. This isn't working. Can we get some names for these things? I'm in my usual state up here in the studio. High tension, heart beating like a trip hammer, whatever that is. But watching from here, I can tell you that the speed of these racers is lost to the camera. Having seen the exciting race documentary Truth in 50, I can tell you it's a different story from inside the car. I imagine that the conditions from inside the cockpit are completely unimaginable. Ben, can you bring us into the action from your point of view?
Okay, well, we've got here a WCM Ultralight, kind of a modern take on, or more modern take on the classic Lotus 7, and I'm going to get to go for a ride to give you at home the experience of what it's like at speed out here on the track. So, I'm going to hand this to you.
While he's getting strapped in, I'll take this opportunity to let you know that you don't have to own a Lotus to join the fun at these events. Log on to www.gglotus.com to find the next race and how you can attend. And it looks like he's at the start line. Let's watch. All right, thank you, Ben, for that insight. And with a little bit of help from our producers, we've taken the historical significance of this area in California and named the course's turns for John Steinbeck novels. And it looks like the next car is off. He's coming up quickly on East of Eden. James Dean was excellent in that. Then it's west round of Mice and Men. You could say that corner separates them. You see what I did there. Lenny would be impressed with his speed. And while you're in the area, you could visit the John Steinbeck Museum in Salinas. My kids love it. And now look at his speed through Tortilla Flat. I haven't read it. Now approaching Cannery Row. I think I was supposed to read some of these books in school. I never read anything in school. And finally, through the Dead Pony with a time of 48.1 seconds. Now, what was that? Red Pony. Have you read it? Yeah, the horse dies at the end. Now, excuse me while I interrupt myself. I've got the info here on the last car, another R-tire class, and just shy of the time for the all-out race class. Hold on. I'm being told that John Steinbeck novels are not commercial enough for our fan base and are, well, depressing. So we've renamed the course for Michael Bay films. And the number 731 Exige is away, accelerating hard towards the rock. Sean Connery, always great. Nicolas Cage, doing that neurotic thing. And he's speeding around Armageddon. Bruce Willis, need I say more? Headed up to the island, performing poorly at the box office. Rounding there to the slalom, he's coming past Transformers 1, 2, and 3. And hopefully 4, 5, and 6. Hated by the critics and loved by America. Now it's around the bend for Bad Boys 1 and now 2. Personally, more action than I can stomach. And he's across Pearl Harbor with a time of 49.8. We were waiting for one of the classic Lotus street class cars to take the start, but it looks like there's a delay. I'm being told there's nothing wrong with the car, except that it's on fire. And it looks like that's all we have time for. NBC's just bought the rights to the show and is putting us on a channel that no one gets. Any final words for the viewers, Ben? All right then, from all of us, so long.